All right, hello everybody. It says things are good. It doesn't look like I'm having any significant errors, so sorry about that. Here's kind of take two. I am not the greatest tech person in the world, but we are here with the games of GenCon. So I went to GenCon 2023 again. The games here, many of them were preview copies or review copies that were given to me by publishers, and I thank them for that. So we'll kind of go through the games and the events that I did and whatnot, answer any questions that you have, and hopefully everything will stay working well. Thanks for joining me after the first one didn't work out so much. Thank you. Welcome back to you as well, Silverfear. Yeah, as I was saying, there's a ridiculous number of games here that shouldn't be anything near a reasonable number that people would pick up. This is work to review on the channel and probably mostly to review on the Right Brain Rollers podcast, which we put a new episode out today. That's myself and Eric Summerer. So had a lot of fun. All right, let's talk through a day and then let's talk through some games. So I went with my friend Larry. We had no Brian this year, who's the store owner at the portal. He didn't come with us, so it was just Larry and I. We left early Tuesday morning. We did our 13-hour road trip to Indianapolis. We crushed it. I got him super early, maybe about 6:30 in the morning, and we just got on the road. Tank of gas got us, mid-Pennsylvania or so, I want to say. We've got to Connecticut, New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and then Indiana is the way we have to go, east to west. We flip-flopped, and Larry was a little bit more tired, but he managed to drive, several hours, 3.5 hours. And we stopped, and on the channel recently, I played Star Wars Rivals. We stopped at a Walmart, and sure enough, they had a box of the expansion stuff. So we bought these, which was a fun thing to do. Once we got back in the car, we also stopped and had an hour dinner because we were making good time. We were going to get there before it got dark. So leaving about 6 in the morning, we'd arrive about 7 at night. And Indianapolis, it gets dark closer to 9. So we knew we had a little time, so we stopped for an hour just to rest, relax. And we popped open this, which is awesome. Also, while I was at GenCon, I went to the Funko booth and got 2 of the promo figures. Actually, I guess because they're bagged, I can't show you as well. But this one is a Scout Trooper, and this one is Wicket. So I managed to get those. I know my lighting is funky. There's a ton of light coming in here, and I don't have these lights on. The top-down view looks good. So anyway, if you haven't checked out Star Wars Rivals, this is available at a lot of Walmarts. It's supposed to be in GameStop and probably eventually in other stores. But it's a really neat game. It reminds me of a Marvel Snap board game. It is not Marvel Snap. Do not think you're immediately recreating that. It just gives me that feel of control these locations, play these units, and try to do things and whatnot. So check that out. I did a playthrough of the Premiere Box? I don't know what it's called. The initial box on the channel before I left for GenCon, and I was happy to find those, and I have a lot of figures now. I'm not a collector, so I've got 20 figures. I've got some promo figures, which I thought was just fun. I liked the figures. It wasn't because I have to have the promos. And if people do, they do. And if you don't like that element, then avoid collectible games. That's a big piece of it. Then we got in on Tuesday night. We got to our hotel that we stayed outside the city the first night. And as soon as we got to the hotel and checked in, we found a space downstairs, and I taught Larry the incredibly fabulous Witcher board game. Brian DeCastro, who plays on the channel here with me, is a huge fan of The Witcher. You know what? I'm just going to go to this view. I think it's better for the games. And maybe I can zoom in a little here as well. Pop these lights on and see if they do anything. It's a little weird. All right. So here's The Witcher. And I taught this to Larry. He absolutely loved it as well. Like I was saying, Brian DeCastro, this was like a game that he had backed when I almost first met him, since he's been on the channel playing Champions with us. And he loves this game, loves The Witcher, and got me to pick up a copy, or play it, actually. I played it the Level Up a treat. So I didn't technically get this at GenCon. I purchased this one with my own money from the portal. But it has been super fun. I can't wait. I'm actually going to teach my wife this game. I think she'll like this too. So check out The Witcher if that sounds interesting. Then we played a game of Rivals. What was really interesting is we met a guy. He was working at the hotel. Basically, he was going to be at the con, but he needed to do work. So he was in the little business area working. and he was coming over to talk to us about games and things. I ended up seeing him like 7 more times during the convention, so I remember his name. But that was kind of neat there as well. So yeah, we did Rivals, and I was like, I think we should really go to bed and get up for Wednesday. All right, so then we'll go through some more games that we got. I figured I'll take a day and go from there. So Barcelona is this is a game that I ended up buying from Board and Dice. That looks really neat. It's supposed to be kind of a heavier style Euro game set in the city of Barcelona, which is a city I've always wanted to visit, which I may actually be visiting in a few years because we're planning a trip to Europe. So it could be really fun. So anyway, bought that one myself. Went over to Japanime and got a chance there to talk with Ryan, and he gave me this game, Bananya, which I guess apparently sold out eventually. So this one is a review copy provided by Japanime. It's supposed to be like a fun family playing game, and it's going to be perfect because I'm going away with my family this weekend to Maine, and I'm going to take this one with me. So there is Bananya. I also picked up this from Amigo. This is Dahlias. This is Bonanza Dahlias. If you haven't played Bonanza, it's kind of got funky looking beans on it, like cartoon beans. And it's a really fun game. And definitely check it out. I already played this with my family. Amigo was willing to provide copies, but they wanted to send them to me, and I ended up purchasing this game there because I wanted to play it this weekend again, going away with my family. So picked this up, already played with my wife and daughter. They loved it. I mean, Bonanza's a classic for a reason. Best Sobel, new art on this, beautiful dahlias instead of the other, which really, I think, draws some people in and whatnot. So that one's really neat. Let's see what else. Matago gave me this. They said this was going to be an Essen release, Orion Duel. So this is from Matago. And it looks like it's kind of a 2-player abstract game where you're dueling over some space area by placing some hexagonal tile polynomials. Oh, gosh. I don't know if I made that up or if that was good. So that is Orion Duel. Also got Land vs. Sea at the Good Games Publishing one. I think I may have played this once before, but this is one that they want some coverage on, so I will try to play this one and show this off. 2 players, 3 players, 4 players. Wow, so they got all sorts of different things that you can do. Part puzzle, part game. Yeah, it's got all these little things you can build, and they were showing me there's lots of little Easter eggs in the drawings, which was really neat. So Land vs. Sea. Thank you to Good Games Publishing for sending me that one. I went over to Slugfest, yes. People made Red Dragon Inn, if you didn't hear as much. So, yeah, Jeremiah says it's a shocking improvement what happened. You know, I listened to my mother who worked for IBM for years and then was in, and she's like, turn it off, turn it back on. So that's all I did. Right? What can I do? That's the best. I'm sorry about this lighting. It looked better when I was looking at it before, and now it just kind of looks dark. It's tricky when I have light from that window. Really what I should do to have a professional studio is that should be boarded up. And I think it's good. I think what I do is not... I like that people try to make things professional and good. I like to live play games and have it be me, and I'm not as great. I'm in my attic is where I am. So anyway, I think you can see the games. So this actually looks pretty interesting. I went to get Tales of the Red Dragon Inn, which actually is here. I'll show that one off. But they also gave me this one, and the cover is very not necessarily looks like some games you would find on a shelf, some party style games, but you're actually using like emoticons and things to figure out you're all together on a ride share, and they're trying to get them to pick them up, but the app isn't working is kind of the idea. And so you're trying to send all these texts to try to figure out, using emojis where you are on a map. It sounds decent. I like the high player count. It's 10 to 15 minutes. So I'm definitely going to give this one a try. It looks relatively interesting. It wasn't necessarily what I was seeking out, but I think I will go for that. All right, what do we got here? We'll finish off the stack. Mercurial, I'm really interested in one. I can't dump this upside down because I opened the wrap on these. An interesting part for GenCon this year is I did not play a lot of games. I was too busy. So that was a key part of all of that. I was too busy in my mind. I need to pull back so that I can do some more relaxing. So I didn't actually play a bunch of games, but I did get time, like kind of at night, to punch some of the games. So this is one of those. Actually, I guess I could do this. I wasn't going to open a lot of the boxes, but yeah, so you can kind of see everything's compartmentalized out. I don't want to dump it upside down. I didn't take these dice out. So you're like dueling. It's like a dueling mage, but you're like drafting cards from a center row. All these decks of cards are going to be laid out in the center. And yeah, so this is one that Good Games had asked for some coverage on. I think it's coming out like in October, so there's that. Jeremiah, that actually sounds like a good description, actually, for Where's My Ride? Yeah, I think it's Mysterium with emojis. I think that's almost exactly what it is. All right, another one from Japanime here. This is Sushi Boat. This was kind of their big one, you know. I said I wouldn't open all these, but sometimes they have to be opened to be able to best see. So this has this big Sushi Boat thing here, and then you actually take these plastic sushi platters, and they push through. And I played this one already, actually. And they'll actually push through to the other side here. I need to figure out how to get them all out. And you're flipping cards to figure out the number of turns and how much you seed the Sushi Boat thing. This part is so cool. And actually, two get hidden in here. And when you do a wasabi challenge, it's what colors are they? And if you can remember the colors, you can get bonus points at the end of the game. So it's got like a little fun mid-game element to it. You know, you've got to decide if memory in the middle of a game is fun to you, but it's kind of a neat thing. So thank you to Japanime for providing that copy, something I've already played with my family, and definitely was enjoyable. All right, so then we went to Wednesday, and Wednesday, I'll kind of set all aside all the events and the demo things that I did. I'll do those towards the end. And whatnot. So Wednesday was setup day. We got there. It was actually really quiet. I was able to get my badge because I work for the Cephalofair booth. I was able to help them set up. I had to do some meetings with various people and whatnot. But then mostly Larry and I sat trying to play some games until just kind of out in the lobby area and trying to connect with people. And then Eric Furston, who plays on the channel, showed up. We got a chance to play some things with him and hang out. And then I'm trying to remember what we did. I cannot remember. I feel like there was something else Wednesday night, but I know we had to then go to our Airbnb where we were staying, so we found that. We turned in there a little bit early and kind of game planned for Thursday morning. And then, yeah, I don't know, going day by day on this feels kind of boring, so I'm going to actually just recap some things. So one of the things I'm going to recap as I'm doing this is Cephalofair games. So I worked at the Cephalofair booth and whatnot. I was teaching the Gloomhaven RPG. The first one was like, okay, can I do this? How good am I at this? And, you know, I had to follow a script and kind of get through things. Gloomhaven RPG is really neat. It was on BackerKit. It funded. It's now available. But it uses the Gloomhaven fighting system in the cards, but it has some kind of neat changes to it. So what you do is normally you have like a hand of cards when you're playing Gloomhaven. You're selecting from those. But when you're role-playing in it, you shuffle all those cards up. The social elements is what a lot of people were calling it. You shuffle those cards, put them on your deck, put the deck on the table, and then you have to actually like to do active skill checks. Like, oh, I want to, you know, check for knowledge, see if I remember this thing. I want to try to open this door, whatever it is, with force. You burn one of those cards off your deck, and then you use the modifier deck. And the modifier deck has numbers for doing skill checks as well. So that's how it kind of brings those two things together. And then all those cards that you've discarded, you don't get them when you start combat. So you're already kind of exhausted, was kind of one of the features of that. By the time I demoed it 8 times that weekend, 8 2-hour slots, I got it down. I definitely felt a lot more comfortable. I was rolling through the things. What's kind of neat as well that people really like is that the Gloom Master is in charge of all the things about the enemy. So there's really no more enemy AI whatsoever. I make the decisions about what happens. I give them stats. I do all that. Now, I was using stat sheets because it was a little easier for me to follow. I'm probably a little more mathematical by nature, even though being an improv teacher as well, it's okay to be on my feet, but it was easier for me in terms of sheer numbers to do that. And then going to the Gloomhaven. It was fun to see a variety of people who are well-versed in RPGs that wanted to try it out, as well as people who are well-versed in Gloomhaven. I taught Gloomhaven to people as well as doing that, and overall it was a super positive experience. all the way through, it was a super positive experience. Cephalor Fair was great. They supported me. They checked in with me halfway. Hey, do you need any help? You want somebody to walk through anything? Are you feeling overwhelmed? They didn't want anybody to be like that. And I thought that was great. So that was kind of that. Other than that, Thursday was the day of the Dice Tower Awards. So I briefly mentioned this on the previous stream that broke down. But I help with the Dice Tower Awards committee. I kind of control... control is such a terrible word. I kind of help from the front end organize all the nominations. So when we get the committee together, hey, heads up everybody, here we go. Let's start nominations, get things going. I'm kind of on that front end of everything, getting the ball rolling. That's the word I wanted to use, not control. So getting the ball rolling and whatnot. I've done it for several years now, which is nice because I just know, hey, we need to start, right? I don't need to do a lot of back and forth with Tom or anybody else. I just know it's time to go. And I get us all the way through the 5 nominations process. So if you go to something like the Dice Tower Spring Spectacular and you see the video where they talk about the 5 nominees, and my work kind of goes to there. And then at that point, Jason Levine and Tom take it over to get to the final awards, the voting, and get all the presenters and everything. But I was there, so I got to present a Dice Tower Award with Eric Sommer, my co-host on the Right Brain Rollers podcast, and that was really a lot of fun. The production was over the top. The singing number in the beginning that Eric did was incredible. And I just got to have a lot of fun because I got to dress up like Ken from the Barbie movie, which I thought was awesome, just to kind of be silly. Hey, Brombe, good to see you. I think it was 2 brief encounters, but both were very enjoyable. So I hope you had a fun time at GenCon and got home safely. I don't know where you live, so I don't know if you had to drive 13 hours home like I did. Through the night and through some crazy rain, which I guess I'll have to save that piece. So that was kind of Thursday. I'm just going to kind of take it by events and things. It's starting to get a little foggy in terms of like games I played and whatnot, but I'll try to roll through some of those next time. Like I said, I didn't end up playing a lot of games. All right. Speaking of games, let's go through some more. So this was provided to me from 25th Century Games. This is Fika. You're in Illinois. Is it actually far? 1.5 hours. Yeah, that was the same as Nelson. Got to see Nelson. Yeah, there were so many people that I ran into. I feel like that would be exhausting. Oh, I know what Wednesday was. Wednesday night, we went to Cosmoctopus. There was a Cosmoctopus launch party. We had met Henry, who made the game, at Level Up, hung out with him a whole bunch. He invited us to go to the Cosmoctopus release party, and that was really fun. I still haven't played Cosmoctopus. I feel so bad. There are these games that are just so funny. 1.5 hour drive. There you go. Did you stay right through Sunday till it closed, or did you head home then on Sunday? All right. So yeah, this is Fika. So this is this is a Swedish tradition of basically sitting down to talk, focus, and relax with people. And the idea is to have hot beverage and pastries. And, we have this very thing, right? Say to your neighbors, oh, please come over for a meal. Let's get to know each other. So it'd be that kind of idea. But this would be a very intentional, like we're doing this to talk about something or go over something or relax or whatever it is. So I got a chance to play this with my wife. It was pretty enjoyable, little 2-player game, fast playing and whatnot. Big hit of the con was Tiger and Dragon. So I picked up a copy of this. This was not provided by Arclight Games or Oink Games. It's a tile laying game. So you're playing these tiles and you're trying to match. It's not tiles, sorry. It's tile placing. And it's really a tile shedding game. So if you've ever played shedding games, you're trying to do that and not let your opponent get rid of tiles while you do kind of through fighting. There's multiple ways to score. Multiple ways to play in which the scoring happens. Here's my thing. 2 to 5 players. They were like, oh yeah, it plays at 2. I played it with 2. It was a non-game at 2. Now, I saw people playing it at 3. They loved it. Got people who played it, demoed it at 4. They loved it. So I really think this has got to be a 3 to 5 player game. I don't have time to go through what and where right now. I think it's fine. I'm not upset about it, but it was not very exciting. It is a cool looking game though. So kind of neat. All right. Sound is good and video's good. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate the heads up on that. Oh, first time. Pretty tired of walking around on Saturday, so it felt like the right time to leave. Oh, nice. Yeah, no, in general, I like Oink Games. I would just complain that I hope I'm missing a rule. That is my thing, right? I'm trying to rifle through games. So I got home Monday, barely slept in, popped up, laundry, dishes, organizing things, emptying my car, because I literally got home at 3 o'clock in the morning, so I didn't empty a thing out of my car. I think I had some food that I grabbed out of the car so it wouldn't sit in there overnight, and whatnot. And so, yeah, I just started getting right to work and then started playing a bunch of games and things that I wanted to knock out. And then Monday night, I went to bed super early. We went to see the Barbie movie, actually. And then I just passed out and slept like almost 10 hours. I think I slept from 9:30 till 7:30 or something like that. Yeah, I don't mind if it's not two-player friendly. Like, it's not a big deal to me. But I do wish that they would say, like, hey, this doesn't play great with two. And just put 3 to 5 on the box, or come up with some kind of variant I thought would be in there. Yeah, I mean, it was just, hey, let's play this game with my wife. And she's like, sure. And then, it wasn't very fun. But it's not a big deal. All right, let's keep going through some more games. All right, Cosm Octopus, I mentioned that I went to the party, so I managed to get a copy of this from Lucky Duck Games. I totally want to play this game. Larry and my friends played this game a ton at Level Up Retreat. I believe Larry played it again at GenCon. Oh, there is a funny thing where Saturday, I got up in the morning with Larry, got in line for Lorcana with him. Oh, we have to talk about Lorcana, don't we? I'll come back to that. And then I didn't see him till 11:30 at night. So that was the thing. So they played somewhere in there. Neat game. Cthulhu isn't my favorite, but I've heard really good things about this, and I'm excited to try it at some point. And I haven't got to it yet, and I feel bad because Henry's kind of become a friend and whatnot. All right, we know I had to get this game. There are newer games from Kid Table Board Games, but this is the one I've been looking at. I can't imagine anybody can figure out why I would want this game. So, in case you're not certain of the sarcasm that I have, I adore raccoons. And this one has a giant raccoon on the cover, and I've heard nothing but good things about this game, and so I'm very excited to try it. Good one to play with my family as well. That is Creature Comfort, so thank you to Kid Table Board Game for supplying that for us. You know what? Why did you get super lucky with Lorcana, Brown Bay? I want to hear about that. Let's do this one, and then I will talk, and I will set up Tesseract while I talk, because I want to show you that one. All right, this is Tales from the Red Dragon Inn. Thank you to Slugfest Games for providing a copy of this game. I heard nothing but good things from Peter and Michael at the mic. It's so weird, because it's like Mike in person and Michael Kelly on the thing, and I never know. All right, anyway. So Peter and Mike said this game is fantastic, so I was able to pick up a copy. It's a dungeon crawl that I think doesn't take itself too seriously as part of it, and it's got a lot of high interaction with the rooms, like you can throw chairs and throw things and people into things and whatnot. It is based on a party, like, I don't think they call it a drinking game, but it's the idea of going back to the tavern as the Red Dragon Inn, and kind of all the chaos that ensues, so it's totally different. Wow. That's awesome. Nice, Brown Bay. Able to get in the line and just snag a box. Have you played yet? Opened your cards? I played 2 games of Lorcana last night, and I think my whole day was Lorcana yesterday, trying to figure out what we're doing with our store. We are sold out of Lorcana with just pre-orders. But I did play 2 games of it. And whatnot. So yeah, Lorcana, Disney, it's a new Ravensburger, CCG. There's so many board game people that are like, CCGs, TCGs, I'm out. I don't want to collect. I don't want to get everything. No, that one is not a drunken theme game. That Tales of the Red Dragon Inn, Jeremiah, is really focused on being a dungeon crawler. It's just using those characters. And again, the game is like you're kind of at a tavern and you're betting coins and you're like imbibing beverages, but it's not like solely a drinking game. There is a game there, and it's completely playable without anything, but I know it's been a lot of things that people have. Nice. Yes, I got Barcelona as well. Don't quite have a full deck of cards. Oh no, that stinks. All right, I'm going to set this up. This is Tesseract, so this is the first game we ever reviewed on the Right Brain Rollers podcast. We got a chance to play it with Kurt Covert, who owns Smirk and Dagger. He came to the portal, played with Eric and I, and then we did a review, and he was nice enough to give us some advanced review copies here. I brought this to like the one-stop co-op shop meetup, and it got played immediately. multiple times, like 4 times that night, and the group had to come and bring them back to me. So I wanted to set this up so you could see what this is, because it's pretty cool, and I really like Kurt's company, so I want to support him getting me this game and show you what it is, and it's super duper fun. So this game is all about the Tesseract, which is what I'm going to set up, but I'm going to talk about Lorcana, and then I will do this. All right. Yeah, I'm just putting dice in here. It's going to be loud. All right, so Lorcana is a new TCG. It's such a big deal because it is collectible, and it's Disney collectible, and people love to collect things. So the game is fun. There's a fun game in Lorcana. I've played it many times now. I probably have 25 plays of it or something. And there's a really fun game there for sure. But the gaga isn't because the game is so good, because it crushes Pokemon or Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Marvel Champions or whatever your favorite card game is. It's there because of the collectability and the ability to get the cards early and to trade and sell and buy and all that kind of stuff. And so Lorcana kind of took over the convention. There's obviously a lot of negative press for Thursday, which I didn't see a lot of bad things. And I didn't hear a lot of bad things initially, but now I've heard a lot worse in terms of friends who got trampled and other things like that. And trampled is relative to maybe more like knocked over, or they were just shocked. When the doors opened, people just ran every which way instead of the orderly line that looked like what people were going to do. So there was a lot of negativity around it and whatnot, and that's kind of where all that stems from. What's going on? Why are we a die short? It's right here. All right. So anyway, so Larry did stand in line for Lorcana. He was able to get boxes 2 of the days, got starter decks. If you didn't get starter decks, they let you get in line again. So he's got a bunch of cards we're playing. And I'm going to be running events at the portal, so that will be really fun to do and whatnot. But I don't want Lorcana to be the star of GenCon, because obviously it got a lot of negativity and other things. I think it's fine. Collectible games are fun. I've learned. I love to buy them. I am not a collector, so it's easy for me to avoid like all that chaos of all that. And I mean, it's great if you can get cards. Larry was able to acquire some cards that are very valuable, so he, is attempting to maybe sell those and whatnot. Hello, Nolan. Thank you for joining me. But that was the big brouhaha about Lorcana, and then there was just this long line. I've never seen that at GenCon before, where it was just a line that went all the way down the building, out the door, and around, and they had to control it going forward, and they did, and people were able to get a bunch of things. Right, it's totally a Cabbage Patch Kids moment, that there's only so many, and people want to get it. They want to be the first to get it. So people go nuts. And, the line thing is fine because people were well-behaved, and Ravensburger did a great job. They were handing out coffee and donuts and promos to people the next day to kind of make up for the chaos. But it was frustrating to have a giant line that you had to kind of maneuver around all the time and whatnot. They definitely did a good job, but I agree, Brombe. I am looking much more forward to Star Wars Unlimited. Now, I'm going to play Lorcana like crazy for the next year. But when Unlimited comes out, I'm going to do that as well. So, but the art is really neat in the cards. So anyway, that's Lorcana. This is Tesseract. So yeah, Tesseract. This Tesseract has come to Earth. It is falling apart, and when it crumbles to nothing, when there's no cubes left here, the game will end and we will lose. So as scientists, we need to remove pieces of it and study it in our labs. So we will remove a cube, and then the cubes have values, like this is a 3 because it has 3 pips on it. And then we put that in our lab, and then we can do things. We're trying to create sets and runs, right? 3 3s, 3 4 5 6, things like that of colors. And then we are trying to contain it by getting one of each number in each color on this board. And if we're able to do that, then we will win the game. What is the different sides here? Okay, looks like 2 sides of the same board. Yep, good. And that is the idea. So it's a really clever game, and then every turn, the lowest cube on there is going to get primed. So it's going to come off, get rolled, and then you've got a little, like, you don't want to get multiple 6s. It's got like a set, anti-set collection thing, right? You don't want sets to be there, and it's collecting all those. And so that's how the game works, and it's just a really interesting group puzzle, passing things to each other, swapping cubes or dice, and whatnot, and that's kind of the idea behind Tesseract. But really cool setup, as you can see. There's also a version that has fully metal dice, but thank you to Kurt and Smirk and Dagger for providing this copy as well, which, like I said, I brought it to that thing and it got played whatever number of times that first night. People were very excited. Oh, the other thing I did on Thursday after the Dice Tower Wars is I played the Pete and Mike's game Flang and Flame, and I played it with Nelson. It was Nelson and I playing. Peter was running the game for us, and it was really neat. So there's this coming to crowdfunding. I don't know which platform they're using, but yeah, it was really fun to get to see them and to play their game. Obviously, I have played many games with Peter before, and Con of Heroes and things like that. Actually, one of the times at Con of Heroes, Peter was nice enough to put me up in his room, so that was really good, and whatnot. And got a chance to play their game, which is about young dragons growing up, and there's a whole story to it. So we played the first one, and Nelson was the person who played with me, so we had a lot of fun with that. Cool. All right. So what other things to do? So I did manage to play the first scenario from Marvel Champions from Next Evolution, and that was really fun. I really liked the Morlocks. It very much reminded me of the Night of the Sentinels one, because it reminded me so much of the cartoon where they have the Morlocks and all that. Really neat scenario. It was relatively easy. I think that's one of the things that we might, see here. But, playing it on standard, obviously that's how it's going to be. Also Star Wars Unlimited, which I think is going to be an awesome game as well. I'm very excited for that one. I'm kind of, keeping that one at arm's length because it's just so far away right now. But that was really fun to do that. Then I sat down on Saturday and played World Wonders with Eric and Agree to Disagree. The Champions one had the little story. Yeah, that was neat with the Morlocks and how it was all going. I agree. Yeah. Yeah, it was fun. It was a good first scenario. I saw Nelson, some other people put up videos, so I figured there's kind of a thorough recap of all that. I didn't get to do the other events and whatnot because I was working so much, but yeah. No, it was neat, and you play through 3 different villains, which makes it really fun, so there's kind of some replayability there, and how will they play, and they each have these neat effects on them. So that was really good. So yeah, we played World Wonders, which is a new game. Oh, I must actually have it here. Yep. World Wonders, which is one I bought, because this sold out from Arcane Wonders, so they didn't have any copies, review copies and whatnot available, but there's all sorts of little wonders and buildings in here. I feel like if I open every box, I'm going to be here all day. I know my family's going to need me for some time today, because we're getting ready to go on the trip, so I'm going to abstain from that. We played a game called Agree to Disagree, where you, make statements like, Marvel comics are better than DC comics, and everybody goes, no, right? Or DC comics are better than Marvel comics, whatever. And then you have a little thing that says agree or disagree, and you put it face down, and it's like a little locking mechanism. And then you try to find people that you think will disagree with you, because those two fit together, and we will agree to disagree, right? And then you get a point for finding the people that disagree with you. It was a lot more fun than I anticipated it to be. So that was neat. And what else? Man, I caught up with a friend who came to visit. He's from here. He was working out there, and we played Raiders of the North Sea, which is something I hadn't played in a little while. So that was neat on Saturday. And yeah, actually, before I forget. So Saturday night, got a chance to play Last Light. And that was really fun. So that's Roy Canada's game. I actually played it in 2017. It was a prototype. Played it in 2020 on TTS, and now played the final production in 2023. So I've kind of seen Roy all the way through the project. I have not been a big help, but I have been playing it and whatnot. Yeah, that's a great call. Jeremiah is talking about how Morlocks were kind of already just kind of in hiding, and the X-Men were in the forefront, and it was kind of like a neat, neat connection there too. So yeah, I got a chance to play that with Caleb and Tony, the designers for the current designers for Marvel Champions, as well as Eric Furston. So the 5 of us played. It's absolutely fantastic game. It sold out at GenCon. I know it was very popular, and Roy's just done a great job. And I've known it all the way through at this game, but it's so exciting to see people getting a chance to play it. So that was my highlight of the con right there. Playing my friend's game. My friend's first published game with the designers of my favorite game. I mean, How do you beat that, right? Okay, this is For Humors. This is Adam's Apple Games. They make Planet Unknown. Nope. Is that what it's called? Oh, no. I think it's called Planet Unknown. I can't remember the name of it. It's got the Lazy Susan. And all of a sudden, the name is escaping me, so I apologize. This is For Humors. I saw people playing this at Level Up Retreat. Thank you to Adam's Apple for providing this copy as well. And somehow you're going around and you're trying to, like, you know, do the, like, oh, you need to be less choleric, and you need to have more sanguine in your blood, and you need to be less phlegmatic, like how they used to do ancient medicine. And you're like, it's like a bidding, bluffing game, and you're trying to score points by placing all those out to be able to win. So that's the idea behind For Humors. You can play 1 to 6 players, so that is an interesting play count to see how that goes. All right, this is probably my most anticipated game that I came home with. It wasn't necessarily, this is like kind of the most unknown game to me, and I now understand what this game is, and it seems fantastic. So, this is Lunar Rush, and this is a game, can I flip this upside down? Sure. This is a game from Dead Alive Games. This was provided as a copy, so thank you to them, and the board is kind of dark. This is the idea that you can transport any payload to the moon, but the bigger the payload, the more time it's going to take, unless you want to provide more fuel. So what's happening, I don't think the back of the box is doing very well. So what's happening is you are pathing back and forth to the moon. Oh, hello, Eric. Thanks for joining me. Yeah, it was the highlight. Yeah, Eric joined us too, and that was super exciting. You are pathing back and forth. Can I get to just the board? I can't. Can I show something in the rulebook to make this easier? Maybe? No. Okay, give up. So just play the game. So you were pathing back and forth to the moon, and you're trying to mine the moon for ore and other things. And so basically you're going to bid each round to take the fast, medium, or slow path. The fast path can get there in one turn, but can only bring a few items. The middle path and the middle route, and the slow one will go really slow. It'll take several turns to get there, but it can bring a whole bunch of things to the moon. Once you get to the moon, you then have a base established that you can upgrade, right? So upgrading's super fun. Oh, I can hold more astronauts on the moon. I can get more food that I need to live on the moon. I can get these things. Oh, I can, mine ore better or get more ore when I mine. And then similarly, you're bidding to come back. Well, the bid is the same. So then you kind of get to come back. And when you come back, there's like a market for all the various things that you are getting off of the moon. Imagine there were things on the moon that we wanted, which is much we discovered. And so the market will, the first come, will get more if they sell it. And then the market's kind of decrease from there. And so that's the idea, is it's kind of this, do I want to fast loop and turn things in and make a lot of money, or do I want to do the slow build that does a big payoff? And obviously the game will control whether that works. But yeah, there's a lot here. There's modules and things to make it a little bit different. So it should be really cool. Hey, Jarrett, thanks for joining. Octopus was your favorite new game. Hey, awesome. That is going to be the running gag for me, Eric, that I still have yet to play Octopus. I went to the Octopus release party. So I'm really excited for Lunar Rush. I didn't know exactly what it was. All right, here's 2 games that I picked up that I bought myself. These were my 1 and 2s. Eric actually talked about this one on Right Brain Rollers today, Federation. And this is like the deluxe edition from Eagle Griffin. And then this is Capstone and Fureland. And this is a Terra Mystica game. So I love Gaia Project. It's one of my favorite games. It's one of the things that I bond with Isaac Childress over. We tend to get to play it together. I didn't know he was going to be. I worked at Cephalo Fair. He said he wasn't going to be there, and then he ended up being there. But I didn't see Isaac a bunch, and I think he headed home early. He's got kids and everything, so I think there was that. So I didn't get to play with him this time. But my wife notoriously likes Terra Mystica better. This is a different, it's a more advanced version of Terra Mystica as the way to scare people away. It's just a different approach. So you get to draft all your powers as you go. So when you finally upgrade your buildings to the top end, that's when you pick what your power is going to be. In the beginning of the game, you get your starting powers and you draft them. They get put out in sets. So you're not stuck to the boards that they made in the original one. So that's where it gets more complex. Beyond that, they just kind of streamline some things. What I thought was interesting here is some of the things they did in Gaia Project that I thought were just straight improvements and minor. They did not change those in here so that now Terra Mystica, or this version, and Gaia Project are distinct. You know, should you own both? No. Could you own both? Absolutely. So if you're like me, and Gaia Project is probably still going to be my favorite game, but now I have my wife that will play this one, so I can basically play my favorite game anytime because she loves this version. Super excited. I think the plan is to try to play this today if we can get everything ready. And then Federation. I don't actually know a ton about this game. I've heard really good things. It's a limited release and whatnot. But it is like working with factions and moving around, and you've got asymmetric powers, and I don't know a ton about it, but it was something that I wanted to pick up because I really wanted to try it from what I had heard. So those are two that I purchased myself. All right, we'll pretty much talk through the games here. Sunday, finished up. Drove home the 13 hours. It was quite hectic. Had to go through some extremely heavy rain in the dark. It was like Larry did the first leg of the drive, got us to Pennsylvania, and then we got to the border of Pennsylvania. I drove the beginning leg, or the second leg there, and it was smooth sailing. It got dark. We're like, oh man, dark is the only thing that maybe will slow us down, but we're making great time. And then all of a sudden it was like, we're in the northern end of Pennsylvania. There's absolutely nothing. We're on like single lane highway because it's always blocked in Pennsylvania. And then it's like raining, fog, giant trucks. It's just so chaotic. And we thought about pulling over somewhere, maybe just to rest for a little bit and come home earlier in the morning. But we kind of called back to Connecticut and said, is it raining there too? Because if it's raining in western PA and it just stretches all the way across, this is going to be our whole ride. Obviously, you think about the fact that you're going 65 and the storm is going 25 or 30 miles an hour, we should be able to outrun it. It was not raining over on the far part of the East Coast where we are, so we drove through it. And sure enough, you know, hitting some patches that were maybe about 10 to 15 minutes at a time, within an hour we got through it, and then boom, it was smooth sailing home. It was easy. Got home at 3 o'clock in the morning. So that was kind of the end to those adventures, if you will. All right. So here's some of the games that I picked up. These are all review copies. Trick Draw is a magic cowboys game. You're magical cowboys, and you're kind of having a duel. It's not really a fighting game. It's really a card-playing game, and you're trying to build an engine that will score 10 points. Once you score 10 points, everybody gets a turn, and the highest untied player wins. That was a huge point of contention there in terms of whether people like highest untied. If I have the most points, why do I lose? But anyway, I got this one. This is from Level 99. My friend that visited, his friend was working for this. Yeah, it was a little hectic there, Eric. There was about an hour's time where we were considering stopping because it's just hard. Like, you can drive in the rain. It's not like it's a big deal normally, but when you're on a big long ride and you're getting tired, it was a matter of whether it was kind of worth it. But it ended up being fine. I believe this is part of like the Exceed fighting system, which I've actually known this friend's friend for a while, and I guess one of his friends helped develop this. So they gave me a copy of this, so I can go back and play Exceed. He enjoys Exceed so much that when I see somebody enjoying something, I have to go from there. This isn't a review copy. I picked up Mindbug. So Mindbug is a game by Richard Garfield where you're playing creatures out to the battlefield, kind of a la Magic, but I believe twice per game you can just say, oh, you summoned that? Ah, Mindbug. I'm going to take it over and it's mine now. And so it's trying to figure out the time when you want to do that. Heard really good things from a variety of people, but especially Team Covenant. This is Alan R. Moon and Bobby West. And Alan Moon made Ticket to Ride. And Bobby West has done a bunch of games. They did Aftershock together, I believe. So they've designed some games together. I think this is kind of a party-style game, Block and Guess, given to me by Amatigo, along with the Orion one. So we will check that out and try it. I definitely have space for some party games. Not always things I am looking to play all the time, but they're fun. This one I'm very excited about, and I need to get this covered soon because, they said if you can take one now, otherwise we'll send you one if you cover it soon. But I really like Carl Chudik's games, most famously Glory to Rome, also Innovation, and there's a whole pile of others. One Deck Dungeon would be another one that's really up there for me. And this is a GNC where you're sailing around to various places. The big mechanism that Carl Chudik does is one, super abstract, but two is like mega multi-use cards. So cards that can usually be used in multiple ways. So in this case, the cards can be pillar or temples, they can be items for trade, they can be population, they can be ships, or they can be used for their own ability, which is a quest. So you've got 5 abilities on every card that you can use them for, and you're trying to figure out what do you want to use when. So that is a big part of that. That is a GNC, so I'll get that played soon. And finally, I think this is the last game here that I see. Awesome. Is, again, at Japanime, they gave me the Cowboy Bebop Space Serenade deck building game. And I actually heard really good things about this, and I think it's a few years old. I don't see a year on here. But I've heard good things. I wanted to play this because My Hero Academia just announced that it's changing to UVS games, and it's the Universus system, which is what it was. It was like Universus, then it went to My Hero, and now it's like back to Universus. Or it was Ultimate Fighting, and then My Hero, and now back to Universus. So they're expanding the license beyond My Hero Academia, and Cowboy Bebop is one of the things they're going to add. I think they had a Cowboy Bebop set already. A little confusing. But anyway, I want to try this out because I wanted to know stuff about Cowboy Bebop so that when those sets come out, I will know something about them. And I think I watched an episode of the live action show and never got any further than that. Not for any particular reason, but I figured this was a good way for me to play games. I tend to learn a whole bunch of things that way. So awesome. So there you go. There are the games that I have. And what else did I play at the show? I feel like I should have mentioned some more things, but I think I got through most of the games that I played there. I talked about the demos that I did, but I was working. I was working the Cephalo Fair booth, then I was finding friends. I went out to eat more often than I normally do. I was very much a social butterfly, so thank you to people. Eric for coming to find me. Brombe, thank you for coming to find me. I want to say hello to everybody. I need to not be as busy as I was this year. It was too much, so I'm going to find something. I may take a year off from GenCon. It was nothing against GenCon. It wasn't Lorcana. It wasn't negative things. It might just be a little bit different. Also discovered that, like, I really liked staying where I could walk, but driving and parking for $10 wasn't bad. And I was only 2 blocks away. So I discovered that that works pretty well if you're an early riser and can get into that parking spot, which I am. So it worked really well for me, I thought. So that's probably some consideration for kind of bringing some of those costs down, and staying at a hotel that's outside a lot cheaper could work well. So that is that, everybody. Thank you so much. If anybody has questions, you can let me know. If you're watching afterward and you have any questions for me, you can do that. Obviously, I didn't recap everything, but I didn't want to just be blah, 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 blah. Like, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. The best part is seeing people. Playing games while seeing people is obviously a big part of it. Oh, I played Mission Control. That one was really cool. I didn't expect that game to be as fun as it was. It's a little basic, but you keep it at a good speed, it's fun. The best way to describe it is like one side of Captain Sonar. So there's one person you're trying to get home in a spaceship stuck, and then you're like the 3 members of Mission Control, and you're trying to like do various puzzles. Like there's a Sudoku one, there's a like add up the dice numbers to something, and you're trying to agree on what dice numbers you need, but you need to agree fast because there's a timer going. I didn't see what the third puzzle was, so that was really neat as well. I played Cult of the Deep. It was just tough because it was too late at night for me. We started at like 11, and my brain couldn't do it. I'm too old these days. I'm just not a night person. Even games at that point in the hall were a little bit too much for me. Yeah. So those were the things. And look forward to more things. I am going away. And then next week, Next week, Next Evolution's going to come out. So once I get a copy of that, the release date, I assume I'll probably start. That is also the day that Lorcana is coming out in our store, and I need to be there for noon, so I may be starting pretty early with Next Evolution. Might be a plan if I can, and get that going. So should be fun. So stay tuned to the channel for that, because I'm looking forward to that and getting a bunch of those games. These games are not all going to be played on the channel. Things that are a small footprint that I can play solo or two-handed easy are going to be most likely. If I can get Age of Innovation to fit on the table, I'd actually love to show that off. I don't think I'd do something like Federation and some of these other ones, but if I can, I will. But you will definitely hear a lot of things You'll definitely hear a lot of things about the games, and you can hear... Sorry, my brain is not catching up with me. I will talk about many of these as I can. I might do some reviews on here, some quick reviews, as well as on the Right Brain Rollers podcast. That's what I want to tell you to do. Jeremiah asks, from a retailer perspective, do you think it's Star Wars or Lorcana that will have more activity in stores? So I will tell you, because I work at a store, but I will say that Step Into the Portal is now separated from the Portal. So I own Step Into the Portal. The Portal is its own entity owned by Brian. We are two separate things. Step Into the Portal is in my name now. So I'm not necessarily associated with the store. And that's just a clear cut that some publishers wanted to know as well. So I'm making sure people know that. But I do work at a store and obviously have some knowledge of that. So on that end, Lorcana... Oh, in stores. It's hard to say. So our store doesn't tend to have as much of a kid crowd in it. I would love for it to have more of a kid crowd, but we don't do a lot of things. There's a toy store that we're associated with that's across the street. It gets a ton of family and kid traffic, and it doesn't necessarily push our way. Now, we are on the back end, so we're like behind a warehouse, so that makes it trickier. We're open later at night. We're not open in the mornings. We don't facilitate a lot of things for kids. So if your store tends to facilitate a lot of kids and families, I think Lorcana is going to be extremely popular. If you're more of a gaming store like we tend to be, then I think you're going to see a lot more traction with Star Wars in stores. I think Lorcana is going to be extremely collectible. I think there's going to be more people playing it because more people want to play games these days than something like Pokemon, but I do think it's going to be very collectible like Pokemon, and you're going to see a lot of that. Kids opening packs just to see what cards they get, not necessarily. Remember, the value of these cards is going to go down significantly. That's not a bad thing. I'm not saying the cards are not going to be valuable. They are. But like your Pokemon, where you can open a 25-cent rare, that's what you're going to start doing in Lorcana once it becomes readily available. Right now, because it's not readily available, your rare cards and super rare cards are tens and twenties of dollars, right? But that value will go down a little bit, which will change some of that. But I think Lorcana will see significant play. I think people are assuming it's very much a kid's game, and it's not very much a kid's game. Kids can play it, but it's not solely focused on kids. It is a very playable game for adults. And I think people would go in with the attitude of like, I don't know what this game is. If you go in with like I'm going to hate this game, I think you're not going to like it. But if you go in like, I don't know what this game is, I think you'll actually enjoy it. I would encourage people, when prices or if somebody's near you is selling at retail or close to retail and it's something you're interested in, to pick it up. Don't pick it up right now when it's crazy, if you have to pay triple the price and you're just slightly interested, right? Those are people looking for value. But I would encourage you to pick up those starters. They come with a booster, so you could change your decks and you could try it out with those starters. The starters aren't amazing. They're not an amazing example of the game, but at least you could see what the gameplay is like. And if you'd want to expand, of course, then once boosters are there, you could pick up a handful of boosters and see if you can build some decks and make it enjoyable. But I think Star Wars Unlimited is the better game. I think it's much more fun. I think it's much more engaging. I think it has more elements to it that I'm excited for, and whatnot. Yeah, in stores, Eric, I would agree with you. More people will collect Lorcana from stores, but play Star Wars Unlimited in stores. I expect to see that. Yeah, agreed. And like Brown Bay says, I think Lorcana will still hold its value. That's the good part, is if you do pick some of these up at a reasonable price. I mean, the Portal is selling at retail. That's just an example. So there should be stores near you that are selling at retail, but we're sold out. So we took pre-orders and then, they were gone. So there's that element too. Like, because we're selling it cheap, it's gone. Whereas if you sell it higher, it's not necessarily gone. So anyway, I don't want to get into the whole debate because it's kind of been an ugly mess of what's happening. But that's what they're doing there, and whatnot. So there you go. Awesome. But yeah, I think both games are definitely worth looking into. I think if you're kind of a board gamer, Marvel Champions person, I think Star Wars Unlimited is going to be your game. You may not like the artwork. I know that's a big part for people. Collectability is tricky, so you might just be out on that front. And maybe Star Wars just isn't your thing. A lot of people have soured on Star Wars, so those elements obviously apply and whatnot. All right, thanks so much, everybody, for joining me here early this morning. I think Nelson is also doing a recap of GenCon, so his channel's on Twitch. And I'm learning about Twitch, so they do these raid things, but I'm happy to support him. Nelson is a friend. We played, like I said, we played Fang and Flame. I ran into Nelson multiple times. In fact, Eric Nelson and I had a lengthy chat together, and that was really fun. FFG used to be cool with store champs and other events. Wonder what will look like now. I do think that's a really important part. I tend to be a positive person. I tend to be an optimistic person, so people who are not can take my opinions with a grain of salt, but I really think Fantasy Flight knows that they've had issues in the past doing OP and getting things to work. We'll see if they short print Unlimited, like is happening to Lorcana. But I really think they're trying to do different things. They have a separate site for the game. They have a lot of resources going into it. I think they're doing a really good job. And I'm very excited. I'm going to play Lorcana like crazy. I'm not playing My Hero as much right now. You know, in these, 6-8 months until Unlimited comes out. I don't have a date. So I might be a little early on that because it might be mid-2024. I don't know. But I'm ready to switch over to Star Wars when that comes out. I think that'll be super exciting. So that is the plan. All right. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining me. My name is the Brandt, and until next time, which will be next week, because I'm going on vacation after my trip to GenCon, where I worked a whole bunch. But until then, I hope you step into the portal. Bye, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks for joining me.